You are listening to the Built to Grow podcast.
All right. Welcome back to the Built to Grow podcast. I'm your host, Tim Lyons, in studio, Scottsdale, AZ headquarters, here at the table, joined as always by Randy Inks. What's up, man?
Spot at the table.
Place at the table,
Place at the
Latimer.
table, Latimer, yep.
Fun fact. The favorite movie of all time, The Program. If you haven't seen it, look it up. It's about college football, and it's about the college football program. A lot of that's true. That a lot of it. I wasn't in a big program, but some of that stuff's real true.
Sure.
Some of that's real true. There was a scene in there. I remember I watched this like my 9th grade year, so that'll tell you everybody how old I was. Whatever year that came out, I was in 9th grade, and it was my first year playing football. And I went to the movie theater and watched it with a couple of buddies on the team. And there was a scene where these guys came out of a bar in college, and they laid in the middle of a freeway. Or no, all of them did. The quarterback did because he was a drunk. But then all of the boys, because we're a team, they're all going to line up. And what happened is these kids in real life, they ended up getting killed because they laid in the middle of the road like that. Ding dong.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
They ran out of talent.
Anywho, big episode today. Something that I just had a conversation with one of our coaching clients yesterday. And this is very relevant in the current business model landscape of what the future looks like as far as semi-private training versus large group training and these training models. And there's not an argument. I would say pretty much everybody's clear on semi-private as being the future of the training gym industry, but a lot of people have tried it and it just isn't working for them in their gyms right now. And so this particular client has large group and he has semi-private, but he's doing a lot of things wrong. And we're here to kind of help everybody understand how to fix that, and some of the things we're doing with him to get it to where it needs to be. First and foremost, his business about 80% large group, probably higher than that. I think it's closer to 90% of revenues coming from large group, and that's great. But there comes a time where he really wants to be the opposite. He wants to be 30% large group, 70% semi-private. And for us here, we've been running the semi-private play for 10 years. We're 90% revenue semi-private training. So just kind of define some things. Large group, in our opinion, or whatever we're defining it as, is boot camp style metabolic conditioning. 10 to 30 people in a room. Everybody's doing the same workout. Large group, call it that. Team training. You hear the kind of interchange.
Yeah, large group, team training, and boot camps. Kind of those three are usually tossed in the mix.
And there's models out there, fit body boot camps and things like that. That's all they do. And you could kind of consider CrossFit and Orange Theory all large group, right? That's kind of the same thing. Everybody's doing the same thing. Then you've got semi-private training, which we've had an episode about why we call it semi-private training versus small group training, but we won't get into that now. But semi-private training, it could be 3, 4, 5, 6 max, one coach, scheduled per the hour. So the biggest problem that we're hearing and I see is that some gyms put semi-private training on the schedule and they sell into it, but then when the experience comes around and that client actually does the semi-private training, they're like, well, this is just like boot camp or team training, but just with less people. And that's the biggest problem that I see. And there's a lot of reasons why that's a problem, and we'll kind of hit on them here, but that's kind of what's going on. So you had a call yesterday, same issue. Semi-private just isn't taking off. It's not, and some of the comments are, it's just like your team training, but just with less people. And that's the opposite of what needs to happen.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, it's been a common thread. This is something that's come up in conversation a lot in the last, I'd say, week, 2 weeks. The more we talk about semi-private and small group, the more this is coming up. And there is an unknown, I don't know if it's the industry, like, across the gym owners, we just don't know how to, and I think of a lot of it's programming, right? Like we don't know how to program for semi-private or what that should look like. But the marketplace, the clients in the gyms aren't seeing the difference between the types of training. Therefore, you're never going to take somebody from, 129
to $399
and move them to $399 simply by just reducing the amount of people they're working out with in their mind. No, that doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, what do we need to do in order to make it known that these are different services, different deliverables to the consumer?
Yes. Okay. Well, there's a lot of phases to this approach, but yes, you nailed it. You can't have the same thing for more money just with less people. Mm-hmm. So it has to look, taste, feel, smell. Everything has to be different between the two services that you're providing. On the semi-private side, the way we sell it to our consumer is the result they're looking for. So, team training, you're over here, you're here for fat loss, high heart rate, metabolic conditioning, high fives, chest bumps, high energy. That's kind of like that over there in that bucket, which, by the way, it's fun.
Absolutely. I mean,
it's fun to train that. That's cool. And, and everybody that has that model, it's like, yeah, it's awesome. You love it. It's also very easy to train. So it's very, there's some good pros with that. But as far as financially, it's the wrong model. If we're talking financially, semi-private's the ticket as far as revenue per hour and, all your overhead costs, as far as your staffing goes. But the programming, the equipment, the pace, the
intensity of it, sure.
the individualization, that's all in semi-private. When you get into semi-private, you're programming individually for each person. You might have 4, you might have 5, you might have 6. And I would recommend, if you're just starting this out, start with 3.
Yeah, we
start
talked
with
about
3.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of taking it back to 10 years ago, we started with 3. We're like, okay, we're pretty good at this. This is going great.
You started with 4. I think we talked about it. I think you broke the system too early, and then you went back and built.
That is correct.
Yeah.
We went to 4. We don't have the hang of this yet.
Yeah.
We went to 3. All right, we're good. Went back to 4. That was pretty good. Went to 5. Everything went to shit. Went back to 4. So we found our sweet spot years and years ago at 4, just based on your staff and your programming and stuff. But the workouts you do and the equipment that you do in semi-private is nothing like the workouts and the equipment you use in boot camp or in team training. And that right on, from the eye test, from a consumer standpoint, yes, I can see these are different, and then the education around why that consumer needs to be in semi-private, that goes into their specific goals. We're trying to build muscle. We can't build muscle without strength training. In order to do strength training, we need to watch you, and you're going to have reps and sets. We're going to load you up. We're going to be doing more complex movements. Those are all the arguments as to why semi-private costs more.
Yeah.
Because we're really spending more time with you in an individual level, and we can't have a bunch of people in here, because if I'm watching you do a deadlift, I need to watch you and coach you. And this is where the coaching comes from, the coaching in a personal trainer comes from this style of training, not clapping and get your knees up over here in the boot camp. So it's really a different deliverable.
Absolutely.
And that's the biggest mistake that you're making as a gym owner when you're trying to do the same thing you're doing in your team training, just with less people and charging twice as much. You can't do that. Yeah,
that's exactly, and that's where you're struggling to sell it. And that's the problem is the consumer, the marketplace is the ultimate decider every time. So if it can't be clear and like slap them in the face obvious on what the difference is, you're going to run into that struggle. Another thing that we always recommend is, if you got people sitting in that team training that have never experienced a semi-private session, find ways of ascending those people into those training sessions. You're never going to just convert somebody, or nobody's going to just come to you and say, hey, I want to buy this higher priced packaging because it sounds like something that's great, or, I hear that that's something, that I should do. No, they have to experience this stuff. They have to see, feel, like Tim said, like the look, the feel, the touch, the smell, all of it should be different. So when somebody sits in that seat and experiences that service, it's so obvious that it's a different. Like, to me, I almost think of it like, a high intensity workout versus bodybuilding. You know what I mean?
Very different.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we can all kind of think about the way that those training sessions are conducted. Semi-private should feel a lot more like a full body, or like a body composition style of training, as opposed to just getting sweaty and moving.
And, and for all those, diehard functional training minded personal trainers, you can still do functional training over in the semi-private world. You can swing kettlebells, you can do Romanian deadlifts and single leg RDLs. You can do all the functional movements, but we're coaching here. We're different weights for different people. We're now bringing the education into the training session. And Mrs. Johnson, I know you said that you wanted bigger glutes. You're really worried about your butt or whatever. That's why we're doing this. And now they're relating that back to, oh, this is for me, personally for me. And that's a big something you have to learn along the way, is that you have to like tie it back to the client's goals.
Absolutely.
Not everybody has the same goals in your gym, and not everybody's a fat loss client. I mean, maybe that's what you're attracting in like the transformation style camps and things like that. Cool. But what happens when they
hit that goal?
They hit the goal. They're plateaued. A really good case study on this was this client that I was talking to on the phone yesterday. The couple of her friends were over in the semi-private, and she was a team training client that sometimes she said she could do two training client. I'm sorry. This particular client said she can go back-to-back workouts and not be winded or not be sore or anything. She was just so conditioned and plateaued over in the team training. She did a workout over on the semi-private side and couldn't get it through the full workout.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the case in point here is she's plateaued. She's got great cardiovascular endurance, but her muscular endurance is shit. It's because they're not strength training in the team training. And they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be doing strength training. And that's the other thing. The other problem that we see is that the team training is bringing too much of the strength training in. The opposite of the same thing that we're talking about. They can't be the same. So if your team training is using barbells and doing strength training, you're doing that one wrong too, because now you're kind of pigeonholed. You can't go to semi-private because you're already doing the same things you would be doing in semi-private over in the team side, and you kind of shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, a couple of things. I just had a conversation with a client. I don't remember if it was a client of ours or previous. They would be working with us. We'd be changing those things. Or just somebody I spoke with. But they literally were doing large group team training with individualized programming, trying to deliver individualized programming with 1 to 20. And I was like, you can't. There's no way. Not only that, but if the movements require a coach doing corrective cues and things like that in that type of setting, you're not delivering the best service that you can.
And that's CrossFit.
Right.
They do these power cleans and big complex movements with 30 people in a room. That's why you see the videos of the of the CrossFit fail, because you're not coaching that client. Mm-hmm. And then that's the other thing with CrossFit that they really shoot themselves in the foot is like, well, in order to get to that level, I need to spend X amount of time with this person individually. And now it's like a high entry point into your business. And it's like 15 things that are backwards on that model.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why they're going
going the other way. Yeah.
Yeah.
The second thing I want to touch on is semi-private, because you touched on the coaching in a team training or a large boot camp. It is a much easier threshold to step into that coaching position. The semi-private coach, not only does it require a little bit more
acumen,
yes, but the knowledge of your clientele, their goals. I know here we use cue cards, coaching cards, right? Where anybody can step in and see what the previous coach's points were and discussion was, because that's going to play into it. And so another conversation that I'm having a lot is the lack of understanding in how to do programming with 6 people, or our situation, let's call it 4 people, right? That have different goals, different capabilities within the same session. So we have to have that conversation about having the same end result, right? The same movement pattern being what we're prescribing all 4 of these people do. But then what can we play with within each of those movements to scale it to each individual, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we can have grandma and the 18-year-old athlete in the same session technically doing a similar movement, but both of them benefiting themselves, respectively. And
we've nailed that here. We had a major league catcher in here training with grandma next, and they're obviously they're separated, but they're on paper we're doing similar movements. Yep. But Anthony was going heavy and explosive, and grandma's little using some bands and stuff. There's only so many movements that the body can do. And so tailoring that, yes, to the individual is an absolute key component to the success of your semi-private training. If you're not doing that and you're just, like I said, doing the same workout for everybody and it's like in a large group, that's the key to this whole puzzle, right?
Yeah, transition, yeah.
Is to get this semi-private training into its own deliverable. Different equipment, different programming, more attention, more coaching, bringing it back to the individual.
And building that as your core deliverable.
Yeah.
That's the biggest
so that
thing.
brings in a great talking point that I had yesterday with this particular client. He's really concerned about how to attract the semi-private training client. And I had to disagree with him. I said, you're not attracting a specific person. You're attracting a person that wants a result, and when they get to you, you give them the prescription, which is semi-private training.
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because when you were talking about the client that was in the boot camp that wasn't getting the results, the second aspect of that is the quality of coaching that recognized you're not getting continued results because you're not doing the activities that are going to get you the results you're looking for, right? She's showing up and doing what she knows, and that's boot camp, but it takes a coach. Not just somebody, facilitating a workout, but somebody to prescribe that change for her. We can't expect that client to know, my results, I'm not getting greater results because maybe I should show up and do more boot camps. No, let's have the conversation about what it's going to take to get her the results
here's the key to this thing. If she stops getting results and you don't have semi-private training and strength training, where's she going to go get that? To your competitor down the street that offers that solution. And if that other company, that other gym is giving the social media post and education as to why strength training is the reason why they're not getting results, she's going to see that and be like, yes, that's why I don't need to be here anymore. I need to be over there because I'm not getting results because they have the XYZ strength training program over there. So going back to the marketing aspect, the client, and you mentioned this earlier, the client that you convert into your semi-private training will only convert if they experience that during whatever it is that they came in on. For example, this client runs an 8-week challenge twice a year, and they all go into team training. And I was like, well, if you gave them some semi-private, guess what happens when they convert out of that challenge? They're going into your semi-private training because they're going to know what it feels like and why they need it. And so that's part of our switch to semi-private training coaching program, that we hit all these things. We look at your individual gym and the model, and like everybody's a little different, right? Some of you have semi-private, but it's failing. Some of you don't have semi-private at all. Some of you doing private training, you want to bring it down to semi-private training. There's all these arguments around how to do it and why to do it. But it is in our opinion that semi-private training is the best model from the past 10 years and the next 10 years going forward. And if you're not there, somebody in your neighborhood's going to do it, and they're going to beat you to it.
Absolutely.
So get on a damn call, would you? No. Make the changes, guys. We're here to help. This is what we do the best, right?
Yep.
So we do some stuff that people come to us, and it always seems to bubble up. I need to change my model semi-private.
Or solidify it. And that's a big thing too, guys. Most of the people that actually sit with us, they're further down that path than, I know I need semi-private.
Yeah.
Right? They realize it. They've made an attempt. It's on their roster, right?
Radar,
it's in their business somehow. A couple clients are in that seat, but it's not successful. It's not the 80% revenue generator in the business. And therefore, we know by looking at, P&Ls, the capacity, where the percentage of clients are sitting in which levels of service. All you have to do is take the people that are already in your organization and let's realign where they are.
Yep.
You don't understand how much money is still sitting within the four walls from the people that are already giving you the money.
Here's the key takeaway. You can generate 40, 50% more, and for this particular client, it's 60% more revenue without bringing in a single new client.
Isn't that amazing?
He's already got them.
And that's probably I'm sure, or I don't know how deep you guys went so far, but that's not even talking about what he might be able to trim by moving to semi-private.
Right.
Right? Because I know he's got a bunch of one-on-one.
Yep, he's bringing those down, and we're bringing the team training up.
So his expenses might actually come down too because of.
Oh, he's in a great position. Yeah. I'm so excited for him. He's probably going to get the biggest transformation of all of our clients so far, just because he's got an amazing team training operation. And he's kind of already understands some of the nuances, but there's some giant questions that we've already answered. He's like full blast. He's ready to press.
I know. I like it because every time we talk, he's like, "This has already happened. This has changed."
Yeah,
like his action taker. Yeah.
And that could be you too, right? You've got a business. We all know how hard it is to get new clients. You've already got them in your four walls. Let's get them into semi-private, and there's so many ways that we do that as far as like a large presentation, individual presentation, beta groups, 10 at a time. There's all these different plays that we have, just depending on your particular needs. And we'll get you there. So book a call, pfmarketingsolutions.com/call. Get with Randy. Let's go over your numbers, go over your business model. Mm-hmm. And if this is a good fit for you, we're going to get you there. That's what we do best.
Love it.
All right, guys, that's it for this episode. Until next time, keep changing lives.